We live? Barely. I can hear Clem, right? Talk, Clem.
You guys hear me?
I can hear Clem with a little bit of a delay. Can't really hear Kyle.
Robot Kyle. We got Robot Kyle here.
Yeah.
Kevin, you look very nice with your ring camera.
I got my ring light, dude. Ring lights will like save ugly guys everywhere. Oh, is that me now, this robot?
I think it might be because it's going through.
Can you hear me?
Do you have your headphones on or off?
Can you hear me now?
Yeah. Yep.
All right. I think we're good.
All right.
Cool. We gotta believe episode 125. We are out with the old, in with the new, both in terms of this godforsaken season and in terms of a manager. We are down a manager. We closed out the council last week at Barhaven East, which was Kyle and I discussed. Was a great time. We got your boy KFC back in the saddle, and this is probably gonna be our last podcast to kind of cut it clean through 2021, and then we'll do some hot stove whenever is necessary throughout the offseason. We'll probably have a manager, new general manager. So we'll discuss all that. And obviously the big story of the day that we knew was coming today, as any Mets fan with a fucking brain knew, right? Because I think there's one person I know that didn't think Luis Rojas was getting fired, but we won't mention that right now. And that is Luis Rojas is not getting his contract. His fucking contract, it was an option. They weren't going to pick it up. They don't have to fire him. Don't have to throw the F word around. Don't have to go for Cobra benefits like my boy KFC did at the light once upon a time. Shout out to fake it till you make it, baby. And I think everyone expected this move. So, Kev, what are your thoughts about Luis?
Yeah, I learned like once we got a little bit of a platform at Barstool, we got big enough. I don't love to like celebrate when people lose their job. I remember people wanted me to make like Fire Ray Ramirez shirts, and I was like, that's like directly calling out for this guy to like who has a wife and kids to like lose his livelihood. And I do not have a problem with Luis Rojas. I wish he could actually still. It's almost like you have to turn the page completely. But I almost wish that he could still have been like a bench coach or in the mix somehow, because that's what he's good at. And that's what he was supposed to be. The only reason he even got thrown into the fire in the first place was because of the ridiculous Beltran situation. So he was never really like supposed to be a big league manager anytime soon. Maybe, down the road, he can continue to grow and get ready for it. But two things, maybe three, like one, when you have a collapse type season, you gotta go. Two, when you've made as many like kind of peculiar bonehead decisions as he's made, you got to go. And three, I think that while Luis Rojas was not the problem, by the way, I don't think he was the problem. I don't think the new manager will be the answer. Mm-hmm. But what I do think is that this shows that Cohen's not fucking around, and that if shit goes south, if there's problems, he fixes them. And that's like the biggest thing to me that is the most important. I wish it was also happening with Sandy. If I'm being honest, I wish we moved on entirely. I think that we're going to let Sandy, we know we're going to let Sandy do his thing. I hope just until this contract and then he's done. But, when you do have he who shall not be named, when Frank Fleming's running around saying this is same old Mets, this is just, the Wilpons 2.0. And there probably are enough other fans out there that thought that they thought that Rojas was going to be back. For it to be day one and you got to go, I think says, shut the fuck up. I'm Steve Cohen and I'm here. I mean business. I do what needs to be done. And, we're moving on. And I hope it's not malicious. I hope that Rojas isn't like devastated. It's one of those things where it was just like, this has to happen. And you know why, right, Luis? You're like, why. And so cut the cord, move on. But I just don't want people to think like, oh, we hired, fucking, I don't even know. Who's the name you could throw out right now that you even really want? I don't even know. But that new manager is not going to be the answer either. There's more shit that needs to happen than hiring a manager in the year 2021, 2022 to fix your franchise.
Yeah, exactly. It kind of goes to the point where we have oh shit, I got a FaceTime video from White Sox Abe. Could this be a trivia? Could this be a dozen question?
Yeah, you got to answer. You got to answer. Yeah.
Clem, how's it going?
What's going on, baby?
I'm legally obligated to say that you are being recorded.
Okay, you're being recorded right now. We're doing We Gotta Believe. I didn't know this was a dozen question, so I had to answer. This is a double recording going right now.
So we just interviewed Ozzie Guillen, and in the middle of the interview, he gets a call from none other than Frank Thomas, who is they're like positioning Ozzie Guillen to go after the Mets job.
Dude, Dave,
look at this breaking news live on the Mets podcast. What a fucking crazy Barstool universe. Let me take you out so you can hear Kevin. Kevin's here too. Obviously.
I was going to say, I don't know if you can hear me, Dave, but I literally just said, I don't even know who the next guy is. I don't know what names are floating around, but let's not act like, whoever does come into town is going to fix absolutely everything. But if it's Ozzie, then we're going to have some fucking fireworks. Let's go, Ozzie Guillen. Come on, man. Are you kidding me?
He's like, you go get that motherfucking New York job. They just fired Miguel Rojas. What's his name? Mel Rojas?
Luis Rojas, yeah.
And it was like in the middle of our interview, he got him on speakerphone and everything. He's like, and then Bobby Jenks a few hours later, because it was almost a 3-hour interview, he texted him and said, yo, go and get that New York job.
Ozzie! It's a
people. They're telling Ozzie to go get it. There's not any rumors that the Mets have connected to him yet, right?
No, it was just all
right.
Scoop City, though. Hey, we're like dabbling in Scoop City. We can see it in the distance. This isn't Scoop City, but it's like there's fire in the distance. There's something burning.
That's fucking hilarious, man. What are the chances?
Wow. We're doing the post-firing podcast right now. Mel Rojas, that is a whole other set of can of worms that we had. Yeah. Fucking nightmare. It was awful for us. I see Carl.
But wait, Carl. Ozzie was like what up, Carl? Ozzie was like he was like crazy towards the end, or after he was fired, right? He was like a loose cannon, right?
I mean, he's always been a loose cannon. He got canceled before getting canceled was like
right.
And listen, we get Bobby Jensen as like a bullpen coach. Can you imagine a Bobby Jensen fucking Flushing? I think get Juan Uribe as a bench coach and shit like that. Bring the Coke can back where it belongs.
Multiple World Series. I'll leave it at that.
Oh, wow. This is beautiful. I could shed a tear right now. This is our brother. I'm going to say later on the podcast, we're going to say like who we're rooting for in the playoffs now. And my number one team is the White Sox. That's who I'm going for all the way. And this just seals it home, Kevin. I know.
Sons of Uribe.
Kevin's banned from the parade, but Kev,
I can't. Yeah, I'm not rooting for you motherfuckers, but whatever.
I don't want Kevin to stink anywhere near that team anyway.
That's true.
But I'm coming out there. I'll see you guys Wednesday night, all right?
Beautiful.
All right, cool. See you, pal.
I can't. Everyone listen to this. It's going to be a great interview. We got Ozzie Guillen. Do you bring up Uribe at all? Because I did ask. We wanted Uribe and Bobby Jenks questions.
We talked Bobby Jenks. We did not talk Uribe. That's on me, but he'll be back soon. He said he wants to announce the next Rough and Rowdy with Portnoy.
There we go. Perfect.
Wow.
Perfect. All right. So a little wife. You be good, Dave. Safe travel. See you out here, baby.
I'll see you in a few days.
Be good. Later.
What are the odds?
Ozzie
from the clouds. That's like serendipitous, though. I'll be able to come back and cut this when it goes through. If that's who ends up getting the job, imagine.
That is so funny. Because who are the other names? Like, are there other baseball names floating around or what?
SNY put out the list. I'll give you the names, and then you guys give me your initial thoughts, because some of them I was like, this is just stupid.
Let me just say too about Rojas is that. Like, Steve Cohen doesn't just keep a guy who was already at his brokerage firm and was just losing money, and everyone's like, sell, Facebook before it crashes, and the guy didn't sell. Like, what the shit Luis Rojas did, no fucking, like, Steve Cohen could just let that guy around. He's pitching fucking, like, the only good player in the lineup. So, Luis Rojas, and we'll see, like, I do think it's going to be a bloody fucking mess in that front office. The GM, we'll talk about the GM. I think the head of baseball ops is going to choose all that. But these are the people that, I think it was, Duquette, right? Jim Duquette said?
This was straight from SNY. It was from Jim Duquette. Yeah. So it's Carlos Beltran, Ron Washington, Eduardo Perez, Bob Melvin, which would obviously be a trade with the A's, Clint Hurdle, Joe McEwing, Buck Showalter, Todd Zeal, John Gibbons, and Miguel Cairo. So, first of all, to put together a list like that, it's just like every person that's a pundit has to come up with a list on short notice. And it's like, I know he's sitting there going, shit, who else can I add to this? And then he just sees like Todd Zeal's dumb, like just for hair men, black hair. He's like, yeah, Todd, you could be a candidate.
Yeah.
Like, whatever. That's just way too early.
I mean, I can't believe I'm going to say this because we were kind of like staunchly against it, but bring back Beltran. Fucking just do it, man. Like, I don't know why all of a sudden I'm different about it, but I mean, maybe it's because things went so like badly that it was like, I don't know, could it be any worse? But part of me is like, you know, the dust settled. We know that he's a cheater. We know that like he's a good baseball mind. The players will like him. There's a bunch of Puerto Ricans on the team anyway. You know, Beltran. A lot of those names, you know, Ron Washington, sure. I don't think there's any need to go trade any significant pieces for Bob Melvin. A lot of those names, minus like Todd Zeal and like Miguel Cairo, Hurdle, like a lot of those are just like, you know, big league manager names. Part of me would prefer the same way I wanted like the new Theo Epstein instead of going to get the old Theo Epstein. Like, is there a new head coach, a new manager who's like, you know, the hot pick? Because again, I just don't think it's, you know what? Give me Buck. Fuck it. Just give me Buck. Let him yell at the media. And you know what? Because listen, I knocked the La Russa hiring. I thought that was stupid. And they had these young guys. You figure they want a young manager, someone they can relate to, someone that, you know, moves into like the new era of baseball. And then they had that whole thing where La Russa was like, remember he was like, the quotes he was given in the media were like anti his own players and, you know, all that shit. But I don't know, fucking worked out. So I don't know if it's despite La Russa or because of him, but a lot of those names, I'm just like, whatever. As long as the baseball ops guy is the right choice, that's all I care about.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. And like a lot of these are like the recycled. I mean, like Ron Washington just fucking like made World Series. You know what I mean? Like, Perez, everyone seemed to like on the last go round. Beltran, this is the thing is Beltran, like that would be very Ponzian. I do not think Steve Cohen has an ounce of Wilpon blood in him.
Yeah,
but bringing back a guy that we literally had, I wish if we had just hired Buck Showalter instead of Beltran, then you fire Buck Showalter a month into the job, and then you just get the post Buck Showalter shine. Then every team makes the World Series. At least that was the case for a while there. Yeah, that would be awesome. Todd Zeal's the only one that I just don't like. Todd Zeal, when he cried about the fucking raccoon incident, I can't take him seriously ever again with his jet black hair. Gibbons, whatever, that's fine. Miguel Cairo's weird. I saw someone tweet out, like, I'd love that Fonzie just back in the organization somewhere. Very, like, much pro that. And I'm good to the day I die. David Wright is meant to be the manager of this team. I don't know if it's going to be this team. I don't know if it's going to be a team in the future, but David Wright is just meant to be that fucking guy that we're all going to love. And it's just the fucking storybook Hollywood ending. I don't know what it's going to take.
You know what, though? The problem with that is I don't want to have to be mad at David Wright when he makes the wrong move in the bullpen and someone gives up a 3-run bomb. And then I have to be sitting here saying, fuck you, David Wright. Like, it's such a thankless job. You really get all of the blame and not much of the glory. It's like if I could crystal ball it and know that the teams would be good enough, then I would like it. But otherwise, I don't want them to have to go through that. I don't want the fans to have to like be conflicted like that. I think Fonzie's interesting because I mean Fonzie won a title at the AAA level or whatever, but I feel like there's still a little bit of like a language barrier there as well, and there's a reason why. I don't know if it was a Wilpon firing, but they let him go for one reason or another. He's not there anymore. Let me just say this, because I know there will be somebody. There's still going to be. It used to be the hot thing, and everybody said.
I know what you're saying.
I know exactly what you're going to say.
Staying Wally fucking Backman. And I just got to say, if there's any Mets fan out there who still says we need Wally Backman to fire the team up, he's an old school player, hard-nosed player who knows the game. It's not happening. Wally Backman's never going to be a major league manager for a billion fucking reasons on and off the field. So stop.
Volleyball. He's coaching the Ducks
Wow.
right now on Long Island.
Wally, and yeah, Wally back. You want to talk about getting canceled? Wally back is toast before he even gets the job. We just have to get another manager. Once we hire him, they dig up old quotes or whatever, old stories and shit like that. I think
said that we've hired, which it, but like it's in the back of your head until you see it like written out. The Mets have hired 4 managers in the last 5 years and have run through 5 different people as their top baseball operations executive in that time span. So it's 9 people at the top. We need somebody that's going to be here for like 5 years. And even 5 years seems like a stretch looking at that.
That's almost like a trivia question where, like, if you said to me, which Major League Baseball team has had new managers in 4 of the last 5 years and 5 baseball operations guys, I wouldn't know it. But I know it. Like, I know it's my team. When I think about it, I know it. But I've never thought about it in like a nice little package like that. That is a staggering amount of instability. That is bad. That is very bad. We talk about infrastructure. We've had none.
It feels like forever ago, but we had like the triple-headed GM with Omar.
Yes.
And that was the first time Sandy left. Like that is what we've had to live with this whole time. I just want somebody that I can remember their name by the end of the season. Where I'm not like, who was our first GM if that's the start of the year?
Hey.
Oh, God damn it.
So that's why, like, it's got to be – that's why you got to hire the baseball ops guy first, right? Like, he gets the pick. So, like, you got to get it's got to just be a stable name. It doesn't have to necessarily be a name we know, but, like, when the Sox signed Heim, like, Heim's going to be the guy for a while now. They're going to let them operate for a while. Even if Sandy did a good job, it can't be Sandy because he's too old. So, like, there has to be a young enough guy who with a good enough pedigree, who's not a fucking creep, and he's not a fucking drunk, and he's not a retread, and he's just going to do this job well. And then he can go hire a manager who's not a fucking cheater and not a fucking creep and not a fucking bonehead, and then we'll be settled in both of those positions.
Yeah, I think at this rate, whoever we hire as the GM, you just like choose whoever you want. And again, those names, there's like some weird names, small names. I feel like we've come to the point now where it's going to be like the dude that we hire, it's going to be a name. And it's the Billy Bean stuff. I know you were recording. Did you see the Billy Bean quote that was going around on Twitter?
No, what was that?
So it was Billy Bean. He goes, they were asking him about like the rumors about him being linked to the Mets. He said, "There's really no need to there's no need to really respond to those. I'd be here all day, I think." And he asked if the Mets request to interview him. He goes, "I wouldn't even know. Again, for me to be worried about this is really to lend credibility to it. It's all just press reports." And that's like I'm not gonna say yes or no. I'm not gonna give you an answer because then my ass is like on the hook or something. I feel like
to me. That makes me feel like it's more realistic than not.
Yeah.
Because if it's totally pie in the sky, like when people were like, "You're moving to South Carolina and you're going to go work for Bro Bible," I was like, "No, I'm like what? No."
Wait, am I?
But if I had said at that time, like, "Come on, you guys really think that? That's crazy." Like, like that almost by being coy about it. And kind of being like it's like he denied it, but didn't deny. I don't know. That makes me feel like there's more.
He's got to divest his investment in the A's because he owns 4%. So like, he can't even comment on it.
4% of the A's is like $68,000. So somebody can buy him out in cash. Yeah, that's what's weird to me. Anything where you have like the Bob Melvin trade or the Billy Bean to divest, unless Steve is offering you a fucking very lucrative deal. These are moves that seem more of a headache than they need to be when there's just other options that aren't, currently tied to a franchise. But yeah, it's just going to have to be some majors. That's why I think like Beltran might be the stability because it's like, he's a Met. So, he's going to like want to, he's going to want to be there as well. It's like a reciprocated type of like, he wants to be here for a few years. We need someone to stay here for a few years. Not saying that I think it's going to be him, but find someone who's like, it's kind of hard to say, but it's like, who's excited to go manage the Mets? You got to find that guy who wants to be here as much as we need him.
And it sounds like Stevie really liked him too. There was a lot of reports as soon as he got fired. And I think we heard this even offline. People were DMing us and it was like, Cohen really liked Beltran. He thought the Wilpons didn't show any guts by firing him. And then again, all these other guys have come back that have, and the Mets had nothing to do with all this these cheating. We didn't win a goddamn playoff game, let alone a World Series during that time. So it is peak Mets. And yeah, and the thing is, David, like you said with David Wright, we love David Wright. I don't know if I compared it on this podcast or we've talked about it in the past, but David Wright is our Gatorade. Never mix Gatorade with alcohol, because once you do that and you taste your Gatorade when you're sober, you think alcohol and then you get sick inside. David Wright is he's the electrolytes that we need in life. He's got Blaine Beltran has been a thing since he was a fucking player. He was our Lindor before Lindor was Lindor, right? It's he couldn't do anything right to the fans because he made a lot of money and he wasn't, one of our homegrown guys. David Wright came up as a baby here, was a Mets fan as a kid. So I agree. I do think whoever the head of baseball ops is, they're going to choose one of their guys as manager. If it's Bean, Melvin's the guy. If it's Theo, he's going to choose a Theo guy. If it's Beltran, I don't know. Or I don't even Stearns, maybe it's Beltran. He's a fucking Mets fan. I don't know. But I think that's where it's going to go from there. So we'll see. I think I said to Kyle.
Again, good.
No, you go.
I was just going to say, it's just not, the manager is just not the make or break move that it once was. So, let's talk baseball ops before we even get worried about who's filling out the lineup card.
Yep. So then speaking of the lineup card, we're gonna jump into the hot stove here. So it's gonna be an interesting winter. It's gonna be. I mean, you look back. I want to listen to our episodes last year when we were talking about the hot stove and being like, all right, well, we know, JD could probably play third if we're not going to get Arenado, and McNeil's going to be here as long as Cano's not around. And Dom, he's a fucking MVP candidate.
McNeil is the one that kills me the most. McNeil, I was like, this guy's going to bat 360 one day. And he's just so bad. It's like, what the fuck happened? God damn it. All right, so let's go through it.
So, all right. So I got a list I got five quote unquote core Mets, because I think Lindor is locked in, obviously. Alonso's locked in. Yeah. I mean, McCann, who gives these not even core. He's just
let's just give a shout out to the Polar Bear. Polar Bear came on the show, gave a good interview, and also just ended up having a fucking real solid mashing baseballs type of year. And, went through a couple patches here and there, but when it's all said and done, actually very quickly, rather, in the next, handful of years, he's going to be the most prolific home run hitter in Mets history. He's going to be a lock for 35 a year. We hope that it gets back to that 50 home run level that we got with the juice balls. But even if it doesn't, he's going to be putting up 40 home runs as he enters the prime of his career. And he's just that fucking dude. So just to give him the respect he deserves.
37 bombs, 94 ribbies, 863 OPS, 30th in baseball in OPS, 13th in home runs. And he was hurt. He played with his hurt wrist, then went on the IL with it, and then came back. And then once he got healthy, he started mashing and won the home run derby. Can't throw that on. Pete was awesome. Awesome interview.
Yep.
All right, so we'll go through this. First up, I guess we kind of brought up Pete. I hate to do this to Kyle right off the bat. Dom. What do we do with Dom right now? Because it's and now this is the thing. JD already has had his surgery. I think Dom's already probably under the probably at the doctor right now as we speak with a wrist, because he had a legitimate wrist issue, which kind of gives you a little pause. DH could be coming next year if the CBA isn't completely mismanaged, which I'm sure it will be. Kyle, thoughts on Dom? Because we'll go good cop right now to start it off.
I don't even know. I don't even have much to say about it, because it was how do you defend somebody that had the season that he put together after the flash in the pan 60 games? And I'm the number one Dom guy when it comes to anytime he does anything. I'm like, that guy's a weapon. You need to have him on the team. But he did kind of expose himself as being maybe you're better as the bench guy. Maybe you are the utility guy that you're going to pepper in here and there. And I said it, I tweeted it out. It was if Pete is so adamant about not DHing, that all but signs Dom's trade ticket to another team. If you're not going to have Dom be the DH, and he's a better defender at first base, and you're not going to piss off Pete long term, okay, well, now you got to trade Chip and you got to trade him, which sucks. Because, I really do think he could develop into a great guy, but it's just, it didn't happen this year. He's definitely on the trade block.
It didn't happen. It kind of happened in the shortened season, but it just hasn't. It not only did it not happen this year, but it just hasn't happened overall. And the only thing that sucks is, I'm not trying to, I'm not trying to sell as low as you fucking could possibly sell. So, is that a guy that you maybe let him shine a little bit and try to trade him at the deadline, or because I still think like JD is a weird one. He's my guy, and I know at times he looked lost, and like with the bases loaded and a ball right down the plate, he would just watch it go by. But time and time again, we had people sucking Chris Bryant's dick. And when you look at the numbers, JD is just very, very comparable and even better in certain areas than Chris Bryant is. So if you're going to like blow Chris, you got to recognize that JD is probably a pretty valuable bat in some places. And that's probably the guy that you're going to get something in return for. If we're going to try to shake things up and actually get something good in return, he's probably the guy to do it. Although Dom is the least, the lesser of the two that you kind of want to just move on from. God, I hate doing this, by the way.
Dom is a year younger than Pete, too. So, like, that's why it's just he's been there since high school. So it's just one of those things where you're like, well, maybe it'll click eventually. And, like, it looks good sometimes.
Yeah, no, I think that's actually a negative. To me, it's like if it was a couple years, it's one thing. It's like, dude, it hasn't ever happened. It's not happening.
And again, JD already went under the knife, and I imagine Dom's going under the knife. It sucks to sell low on those guys when it's such an obvious, like it's like a health is a potential issue. Those are the guys you buy low on if you're playing fantasy or whatever.
Yes.
You're like, this guy's going to bounce back this year as long as he's healthy. So, I mean.
and he'll make somebody happy. Like if he gets a little bit healthy and a change of scenery, and next thing you know, he's like Wilmer, who's with the fucking Giants, and it's like, that's awesome to see. But it was never going to happen here. There are certain guys where you just say, yeah, man, it's not happening here in New York. So go ahead. But it's all about what can you get in return for them.
And we're breaking the bank at some point for someone, whether it's a hitter, pitcher, relief, and all that kind of stuff. And by the way, I have a couple other hitters we'll get to. I forgot about this. Stooley told me this the other night. I think it was at Barstow, the ballpark. Because I was like, well, Familia could be gone. He's done. His contract's done. So goodbye. Skinny J. Roos, I'd take him back. I'm like, Skinny Familia on like a 1-year deal for 1/10 the money he made last year. 100%. I could live with him for a year and whatever. Who else? Loop's a free agent after being fucking awesome. 0.95 ERA, right? Which was
0.95 is like it's the sixth lowest ERA in history with like 65 innings to qualify. I mean, he's going to want big money. So
it's also like that new rule where he's got to face 3 batters. Like if you're bringing him in, he's not getting past the 3 batters. He's getting the guy out. You're bringing him in to get out, and that's it. And you're like,
well,
shit.
I mean, yes and no. It's like I know he's a specialist, but like when he's pitching as good as he's pitching, I think the world has just gone so crazy with righty lefty that like I don't think he'd be that bad. I don't think he's got a 0.95 ERA when you shelter him that much. But like if you let him go a couple batters here and there, I don't think it's. I saw people saying make him the closer. It's like, no, I'm not gonna go that far. But like not everything needs to be a 1 batter, lefty righties type of thing. But I also think the chances of him replicating that season probably pretty slim to none. And he's gonna want money. He's gonna want 0.95 ERA reliever money. And I don't think that's the place to spend it. So I love him. Bush Lights for life. If he wants to come back at a reasonable price, fine. But if he's walking in there being like, I got the 6th lowest ERA in history, bitch, pay me. That's probably that lightning's not going to strike twice, I don't think.
Yep. And then speaking of money, the guy the reason I brought this up, someone I completely forgot about, but this is off the books now. We're going to have Cano back, which sucks. Dellin Betances, that motherfucker just sat on our fucking, right? It's like the ghost of Christmas fucking past coming. He forgot he was a New York Met.
That was us last week.
I 100% forgot he was a New York Met. Oh my God.
So
like if you gave me like a trivia question, like gun to my head, you got to name like all the relievers, like I would have never, ever landed on Betances. I totally forgot he was on the team. Holy shit.
If it was like one of those Sporkle quizzes, there'd be every reliever you would have filled. What was the guy with the Bandit or Bando and the Bandaman. Yeah. I'd think of Anthony Banda before I thought about Dellin Betances, who was taking up like $8 million this year and, pitched like 2/3 of an inning and it was just absolute trash. So there are some good numbers coming off. Cano coming back. We'll have a bunch of other shit, but that motherfucker.
I think the biggest ones where they're going to be like held for hostage is Loop and Stroman, 1,000%.
Stroh is the poster child right now for betting on yourself. Like,
Yep.
shut it down during COVID. Said, I'll take the 1 year qualifying and I will prove that I am worth it. And he put together, at least by Mets standards, one of the best Mets seasons of all time. Like just a really, really solid pitch. I mean, if there wasn't the social media headaches here and there, people would have been like, what a fucking godsend Stroman is. Do you pay him though?
It's a lot of money. And
what is it? What are people like? What give me a range? What are people saying?
He's going to be the top in the class, I would have to assume. So he's going to be looking for like life-changing.
Are we talking
$200
$200 million?
25 a year?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, we'll see where it gets. You know what it is though? It's like he falls into the category, and it's not to compare the heights, but he's like the Lincecum, where Lincecum won 2 Cy Youngs and got paid. He hasn't had that type of pedigree, but he's also a similar guy where he's going to be able to get you guys out and get ground ball. So it's like,
motherfucker. How old is he now? He is 8.
He's my age, so he's 29, 30.
Yeah, and
he's got to get paid, and he's got to go get that money. Like, I'm not even going to fault him for it.
No.
Like, is it
like,
going to be us? So then you got to worry about Noah after this year.
But he's good. You know, it's like you
also got to find a slot for him. So let's go through it. DeGrom, we're hoping that, you know, everything's fine and, you know, the fucking guillotine's going to be overhead no matter what. Carrasco's here. He's locked in. And listen, he's lost the cookie name. He is communion wafer Carrasco, which is tasteless. And that's only the first inning. After then, he's actually good. We just have to have an opener for Carrasco, and he'll be okay. Taiwan is 3. Noah's 4 if he does the qualifying. And then your 5 is Peterson, McGill, or if you just are banishing those guys to the bullpen, there's only one more spot in there. Now, you do trades or whatever, you could do that. You can open shit up. But I'm saying Stroman, like, it's not like you have this cataclysmic just, you know, void for him to fill. And if you're going to give him $25 million a year, I don't know if you do that for that. And the social media stuff, we're always pro social media. Like, it does kind of grind on you after a while. You know, it's he's always fighting somebody, which that's his mentality. He needs the world.
But that's like, you gotta separate that. It's like, yeah, he's a headache on Twitter. I don't give a fuck if he's a headache if he goes back out there and throws.
And he blocked Frank, which I love.
Yeah. He was also immediately tweeting after the Mets last game, like, hey, shout out to Toronto. Like, you guys killed it. I think you guys are going to be so good moving forward. Like, I can see him wanting to do, like, the homecoming coming back there because he was their top pick and he was supposed to be their ace
great
and their
team
stack.
To go play for.
Yeah.
But I also wonder if this is a time where, like, I mean, it really depends on how much Stevie wants to go into the luxury tax. Because if it's me, I want to establish an air of, like, I reward guys. Like, you did this for me. You stepped up in our awful season. Boom, here's the bag. And also, I'll go get you the big name free agent who's not with us. Boom, he gets the bag too. And I'm gonna, like, drown in the tax for a little bit.
Yep.
I don't know if he's looking to make a statement like that. I don't know. I mean, that is a. I guess it all depends on numbers. I just think at the age of 30, no one's gonna walk out here and give you like an 8-year deal, are they? So then, what does it become? Would you give him an 8-year deal?
No, I'm saying I think another team might do that. I think another team might do that, not us. The Texas Rangers are always the wild card in my mind. I don't know what the fuck.
Yeah.
Like Texas, I feel like that's where Conforto, that we learned that they actually have a good outfield in Texas. I don't know the first thing about.
But you're right. That's a place that's just like, yeah, we'll just pay you whatever. Who cares? We're never gonna win anyway.
The A-Rod contract has forever had me just burn money in Texas. You know what I mean?
The rotation, man. You know, if Ty Walker can't. You know, Ty Walker's going to be a back end guy, and we've seen that. He had his flash, but I think the first half is the anomaly than the regular. And Noah's a question mark. So the Mets probably need
everything's a question mark when you put it down to it, right? DeGrom's a question mark.
I know.
Carrasco's a question mark.
So that's what scares me. Yeah, I mean, Carrasco being like your number 2 fucking blows, dude. That fucking blows. That sucks. That fucking sucks. So, like, who's
that's his baseball card. I can see the little thing on his baseball card. Carlos Carrasco was the Mets' number 2 pitcher here. It sucked. It fucking sucked, dude.
That really blows, man. What we really desperately need is who else is out there besides Stroh in the free agent class?
Noah. Like it's as
I was gonna say, what we need is like Noah to be what we've always wanted him to be, and another guy. And whether that's Stroman or not, you really need like 2 more people because the rest after DeGrom is not good. And even if it was good at times this year, I don't think we're going to, again, catch that lightning in a bottle. What's crazy about this season, because it ended so poorly, is there's also a couple things that were like better than we ever could have imagined. You know what I mean? Like when you look at Taijuan Walker's first half, or you look at the way DeGrom did dominate when he was healthy. It's like, some of these things eventually are not going to play out. And this was all during a year that, we ended up fucking sucking. So the rotation, I think, is going to be, it's crazy because in my mind, the rotation has the bigger question marks, but looking at this season, obviously the offense was the fucking disaster. So it's like, which one do you actually, like, what do you think is
there
more
is
pressing?
like nobody on the market. So he is going to get a lot of money.
Stroman?
Yeah. It's like Greinke, who's 38, Trevor Bauer, Verlander, Kershaw, Scherzer, like everybody's like
Everyone's
past
old.
34.
Bauer's not opting out either. Bauer is opting in for the rest of his fucking life.
No, he's taking
not gonna
that
play.
shit.
Yeah.
What-
Gausman was good this year, right?
Gausman, yep, Gausman's on there.
But it's like, are you
What
paying
if you
Robbie
went-
Ray?
Give me like 1-year deals for all of those guys. Go get me Scherzer, Kershaw, and Verlander.
And then
I don't know. Those guys are all like, they're all going to get what, like a couple of years at high annual values.
Yeah.
Scherzer just said the other
pitching
day he wants to pitch until he's 40.
And he's one of those guys who probably can,
Yeah.
I wonder if he's one of those guys. Remember, we keep saying, and I don't really, that starting pitcher's hard to be that guy, but remember, like, you need a Keith or you need a fucking Ray Knight. Like, Scherzer's a legitimate crazy person. And to have him and Jake as our two leaders, it might actually kind of work. I don't really know how it works with starting pitching in the locker room. But yeah, so
dude, you know what really sucks? Whoever this baseball ops guy is going to be, it's like, here's a bunch of really fucking hard decisions and a lot of like slop to try to fill the fucking holes. And we're going to demand a postseason appearance from you. You know what I mean? Like
lunatic fan base. Yeah, exactly. But hey, at least you have
on the whole, I have completely readjusted my expectations now. Like the 3-year portion of that 5, no longer. So like, I'm thinking now next year needs to be like what I thought this year was going to be, where it's like we make the playoffs, like hopefully, and we win a couple games, but we don't have enough to get over the hump.
Yep.
And then the 3rd year is when we like hopefully are just like they're going to be a postseason team. I mean, I think we're a couple of years away from really even contending with the number of holes to fill. Even if you do fill them successfully, it's just a lot to like put together.
Yeah, and as much as we get like laughed at and oh my god, the Mets came up short. Like, first of all, everyone was picking the Braves to win the fucking division. I don't know where this we were all excited about Stevie, but the 2020 hindsight, it's like no, like people had us behind like the Phillies to start the season, and then we were in first, which was awesome. Like, but we're like 2 games behind the Padres when it was all said, and then they were they're going to win the World Series, 100+ wins.
That's what I like. I'm very happy that happened to the Padres. First of all, because I hate that little pocket of their fan base, which is super annoying. Second of all, like, are there Mets fans out there who think that the Padres are completely decimated? You need to blow everything up and start over. And I know you can't compare directly because you don't have a Fernando Tatis or like although, you might if a couple guys bounce back. It's like sometimes when you're in it as a fan, you're like, oh my God, we collapsed and we need to blow everything up. But then if I asked you about the Padres, you'd be like, they'll be all right. They'll figure it out. And they'll like, they'll bounce back a little bit. They'll plug some holes and they'll return to what they were supposed to be, because it's just not your team and you're not as, embedded in it. Where like, I don't think that the Padres are in, it's not a great spot to be, but I also don't think that they are now like ruined for the future the way that some people feel like the Mets probably are.
Well, to play devil's advocate, we played in the dog shit division, and they had 2 teams that were like 105 and 107 wins.
That's true.
Sure. Yeah. That's why I'm saying I know it's
good
not
point, dog.
Like a direct comparison, but the way that they, it's just funny to see like one team that is like the laughable, the joke of the Mets. The other team was like the Padres are the future now, and they both ended up having the same sort of collapse. and only one team is, being regarded as like you are completely trash and utterly fucked in every possible way.
Yeah, and the Steve Cohen, hot takes and think pieces about how they're worse off now. It's like, get the fuck out of my face with this nonsense. So I kind of I apologize. I kind of skewed us away just from like the internal guys we have to keep. Conforto, I think, is like, no, a qualifying offer. I don't think he's going to take a short-term deal or anything like that. I think if anything, he'll take the qualifying and try to do what Stroman did, right?
He's got to do that. I think if he wants
unless Boris gets something for him. Unless Boris, the last month you plead COVID for the first half of the year, and then the last month you kind of showed all the old Mike. But I don't see the Mets being like, here, take all of our money now, and because we like you, Mike, right?
It's like, well, do you want the money up front, and you're going to end up with like probably 15 to 18 million for the year? But if he has another shitty year, then he's guaranteeing himself like a tiny contract from that point forward. Yeah, or are you going to do like a sweetheart deal? I don't think we're going to offer him anything more than that. But like, what team's out there that's like chopping at the bit to be like, oh, you know what we need? A right fielder that has no arm and is hitting 250.
Yeah, I know.
So his hands are pretty tied, but at the same time, like, we're kind of screwed if he says yes.
Yeah, it's not a good spot to be in.
No.
He like, can he do the Stroman is the question. Like, can Michael Conforto bet on himself and go ball out? I don't know if he's really got that like in him, because even his good years were never like Showtime, like stand out. It was just like he's a solid player. But at the same time, I saw like somebody in Mets Twitter tweeted out his career numbers after coming up in 2015, and I was like, it's pretty fucking good if you can get him to revert back to that, when it really was like the first half of the year was the problem. Second half of the year was pretty much in line with the way he played. So do you throw out that like truly putrid first half and offer him something that's a little more in the middle? Because you know what, everything we just described would tell me that you should just meet in the middle. Like, the Mets are kind of fucked. Fucked, but if they offer him something, they're kind of stuck. And Conforto's like definitely fucked, and he's probably not the type of guy who can bet on himself. So why don't we just meet in the middle with something like a longer than a 1-year qualifying offer, but nothing too fucking crazy, incentive based, like, a lot of that shit, and everybody kind of wins. But that's not what Boris does. So,
and that's the X factor and all that. Boris is his agent, and McNeil. Again, I think he said it about McNeil. Like, I thought this is the year. I'm like, McNeil doesn't have Cano lurking over him, just gets to stay in one position. And again, he could have. I mean, by the end of this year, he was definitely hurt. The way he was walking, he was running around the bases like fucking you in the fucking 3-cone drill. Like, the guy had like a fucking piano on his back. And
unnecessary.
Hey, half the fucking sillies don't know what I'm talking about.
Injury aside, like, he was just at the plate was a different human. Yeah. And I don't know if it's the launch angle and the uppercut swing, and he was swinging for power, or what it was, but it's like, dude went from a all field like slasher line drive hitter to just
It was bad, man. It was bad. So, and then I think this isn't a guy, this isn't a homegrown. So all those guys, like, and even Nimmo at the point where it's like, I'd like to get a center fielder, move him to left where he belongs if we vacate it with Dom or McNeil or whatever. And you can try to find a center fielder. There's really not a ton of center fielders out there. I mean, we were going crazy about Jackie Bradley Jr. And if there's even, I don't think he'll even opt out at this point, right? Charlie Black.
It's like, sign Beltran and let him be a player manager. As much as I was really like okay with letting Springer walk, part of me is like, fuck, I just want a center fielder. I've wanted one since Beltran. I've wanted one for so long. It's such an important position for me. Like, I love having Lindor as your shortstop because you got yourself a fucking shortstop, one of the crown jewel spots in baseball. And I just want a fucking center fielder next. And by the way, Lindor, you look up what he finished with, like 20, 22 or 20 home runs or whatever. Yeah, like a god awful year. Showed some flashes at the end there. Like, hopefully, and I don't know if this shit matters, and maybe this is me just trying to just see the possible upside. But I follow his wife on Instagram, or his baby mama, and she posted a picture of him and the kid, and she was like, we moved to New York We became parents for the first time.
Oh my
He's
God,
in a
really?
big city, and like all of these things that I'm just like, I don't know if on a real life level, that dude might have just been like, oh my God, this fucking year is insane. And maybe things like settle in the next year. I don't know if that's like soft or silly or whatever, but like you just gotta hope that there's never a slump like that again for Lindor.
Yeah, exactly. So, and then I think this is the one guy that it's not a homegrown guy. I mean, I think we have to have, if you could re-sign Javi Baez, you have to re-sign Javi Baez, right?
Yeah. I mean, but again, at what cost?
At what cost? Yeah. So I've been trying to, like, when we were at the Barcelona ballpark, when we were at the console party, I asked every single person, like, do you re-sign Baez? Everyone's like, we got to re-sign Baez. And again, if it's going to be 200 plus million, and he fucking, that motherfucker put on, I mean, better than Yo, put on the perfect contract push. And I know if we re-sign him, I know he's going to pull Yo shit where it drives us crazy. He does stupid shit. He's probably going to boo the fans again. He's going to do the shit. And Yo did two things awesome. He had a fucking rocket arm and he could hit bombs. Javi does more than that. You know what I mean? He has the Javi runs, the defense, the crazy shit on the base pass. Both sides, the good shit and the bad shit, perfectly balanced as all things should be. But he's a fucking electric guy. Did you see that thing? He was 4th in jerseys sold this year. 4th in jerseys sold.
Yeah. No, I mean he's an X factor off the field with the amount of excitement. He's good. He's almost like kind of like you said with Conforto, where you're stuck. It's like, or you know what it's like? It's like when you have a franchise quarterback, but you know he's not really like Super Bowl material. It's like when the Lions had Stafford and it was like, he's really, really fucking good. But are we ever going to get over the hump and win a Super Bowl? Probably not. It's like Baez has fallen into our laps because he was available at the trade deadline and we needed that. And now we have the burden of deciding whether to let this electric player walk or sign him for probably big money, knowing that he's really not like a winning quote unquote baseball player, or knowing that he's going to be the guy who strikes out too much and does, it's like, I almost wish we just didn't even have this problem at all because it's a big decision to make and don't want to be wrong on it.
It's that you're not in love with him. You're in love with the thought of him. Like you're in love with Javi Baez, who only strikes out 18% of the time, not the 34% he was doing in Chicago. And the guy who makes the electric no-look tags and not the guy who's like booting balls because he's trying to be flashy up the middle. And like, it's just, you've seen just enough of him to know how good he can be, a la Yo, but not enough to be like, this guy's a headache night in and night out when he's doing
but we just did it with Yo. And I know you can't compare players, but it's like, but you kind of can. And the Yo was a fucking nightmare situation. So,
I still want to sign him.
He's so fucking electric.
I know.
If we can, if it means somehow, like if we get him, we're guaranteed to try to get rid of Cano somehow. Like if it's a 2-for-1 type of deal where that means Cano's going to be on the bench or we're going to buy him out, let's fucking go. Also, if it means some sort of Puerto Rican connections happening and that means Correa wants to come to town, then we can talk. But as far as just the man, the player, the money, it truly is this whole offseason, all of it. Conforto is a tough choice. Stroman's a tough choice. Javi Baez is probably the toughest choice. Then there's just huge question marks to fill that are all hard decisions. And we got to, before we do that, we have to fill the question mark of the guy who's going to be filling the question marks. So not a good spot, but hey, we know that Cohen is the guy who's like, we got to make decisions. Let's go do it.
And that's the best part is it's going to be the guy. Like, I feel like if Theo comes, he's going to take Baez back because he knows Baez, right? Where if Billy Bean probably like Marcus Simeon, come on down. You're not a crazy person like Javi Baez. And no matter what it is, we're in this. We get to fucking watch MLB Network. When the Hot Stove Show is on, I'm like, oh, they're going to talk about the Mets in the A block and that kind of shit. It's just nice to be back here. Everyone forgot that during this absolutely crazy season, which again, when you put together the Jared Porter stuff, the the Steve Cohen calling out reporter leaks, the fucking idiot with the DUI, all this kind of shit. It was basically like, it might have been an even crazier Mets year than usual. Jacob deGrom getting an MRI every fucking day. There was so much crazy shit that went on here. So I do think like once those guys get into place, everything should settle into place. We'll see how it goes. Kevin, however, speaking of this crazy season, I have to make this known. Would you say that this was a very crazy year? Almost like a curse.
I I feel like I know where this ends, but yes, I would say this is a crazy year.
It was cursed, right? When Uncle Stevie comes in, you thought it was going to wipe
I'm
away all
not
the
going to
Wapan
jerk
stuff.
off and jump off a bridge.
On June 18th, 2020, at KFC Barstool wrote, if Pete Alonso goes for 50-120, I'll come myself and then jump off a bridge. Frank the Tank, in that same time frame, said, if Pete Alonso hits 50 home runs, I will do the polar bear plunge. Frank the Tank, the man who has been disparaged, his name has been rubbed in dirt on this podcast, went out there on January 1st and fucking went into the ocean, took the plunge.
Okay, wait. Now wait. Frank the Tank put like his fucking shins in the water. If I can get some sort of a subsidized version of coming myself and jumping off a bridge, I will do the same thing. How,
Kevin,
dude? It's not that I don't want to do this. It's how can I do this without ending up on a list somewhere?
I don't know, but that's not I would take this burden off you. I've actually thought about it. It's like, I'll do the coming part. Who gives a shit? And then the bridge. But then that's not like a soul for a soul thing. This isn't Boromir Run. We're talking, this is the baseball gods. They might strike us with harsher penalties. That Steve Cohen might just disappear off the earth if I take this burden off your back. There's nothing in the world I want to do more. But after seeing this season unfold the way it did, we can find a bridge that's not high. Coming here, Frank the Tank. Yes, Frank's little tootsies were not having a good time in that cold water. Even if it was just up to his shins, I'm asking you to come yourself, which is the best feeling on earth, and just fall off a fucking short little bridge. That's all you have to do. And I'm not asking you to do it for me.
We'll get you those little ones that they put the porcelain ducks on.
Yes.
The little ones they put little porcelain ducks on in the garden.
Now, again, do not piss off the baseball guy.
I can find a little bridge. That's not what I'm worried about. I just don't know how to come myself on camera.
No, you don't have to do it. It's like Dave didn't come himself in the challenge, right?
Okay, well, yeah. If I can truly 100% fake
18,
it like Dave did, I'll fucking do it.
Kev, that's the other thing. This is KFC Radio, Kev. You don't fake your comes. You don't fake your comes when you're fucking telling your stories. You do all this crazy shit you say on there. I need you to do that. I need you to do it. Kyle, everyone listening, Mets fans, Mr. Met, Mrs. Met. Do you need her to plead to you to fucking come yourself? I'll get in touch with Mrs. Met. Whatever needs to be done. I cannot have this curse go into this season. We have Billy Bean.
You know what you got to do? You know what you got to do? You got to rent me out the Bobby Bonilla suite for the night. Let me hang out with Mrs. Met, and then I'll go to Shea Bridge and I'll rappel off it. There we go.
Okay.
I would be lying if I said that thought had not crossed my mind several times this season where I was like, I got to do this. I got to get just to get it off my back. I got to do this. So Nick, we got to find a bridge and I got to come myself. Poor Nick had to shoot naked Feidelberg today playing an accordion. That was only a week after he had to do Feidelberg doing BDSM. Now I'm telling him I got to come and jump off bridges. Maybe I'll just jump off a real bridge and I'll be done with all this.
Just come yourself first. That's all I'm asking. Because once you're dead, I can't have you. I don't know if it's able. Is it able to make a dead person come? Because I'll do that if I have to.
I fucked it up. If I slipped and fell, it's no, he didn't come first. It doesn't count. Now I'm dead. Oh my God. I knew you were going there. I was like, fuck,
Pete Alonso did his part. Frank did his part. Frank,
all right.
Frank was not right, but he sure as hell wasn't wrong.
Figure out a way to not end up a sex offender.
We joked about it last year.
I hate this team.
After this season, we have to do it the right way, man. I'm sorry.
I hate this team. You got to come yourself. You got to believe.
Gotta come yourself. Gotta believe. We'll see you guys potentially maybe whenever they hire the baseball ops. If they hire, again, I don't think the managers are going to come before the president of baseball ops. So we'll see you guys whenever that happens again. It should be a big name. And then from there, we'll figure out if there's any big signings, trades, whatever may happen in the offseason. We'll get back then. But thanks, everyone, for listening this season. Barstool the Ballpark this next season, hopefully, if this fucking pandemic ever ends, we'll be fucking real.
And I want to say, when we start, I said this is the same thing at the end of last year. I said we started the podcast thinking one day maybe the team will get good and we'll be the prominent Mets podcast out there in the Mets social media world. And then Cohen came and it seemed like we can really make this happen in a short period of time. And then this year seemed like such a step back for the Mets fan base where You got the Franks, and you got the two opposite extremes of Frank, and then the Pete Alonsos of like just happy you were playing baseball. And then right in the middle are a ton of us who obviously know this season was disappointing, but doesn't mean that Steve Cohen needs to like sell the fucking team. And yes, this was utterly embarrassing, and it felt like a lot of old Mets, but there's also so much going on that points in the direction of new Mets. And that's the beginning stages of a turnaround. That is the beginning stages of changing a culture. And it's turning this whole fucking battleship around to be heading in the right direction. It takes, even if things go smoothly, it takes multiple years. And here in New York, little brother, Cohen being the figure that he is, it's not going to go smoothly either. It's going to be a problem. You mix in some unexpectedly bad performances, it's going to be harder than we thought, but it all should still be, you know, within reason and within range with a guy like Steve Cohen. And I just hope that this podcast can be like the middle, where it's almost like politics. Like, we don't want the fucking extremes. Come here in the middle where you get to vent, but you're not going to bail on the team, and you get to enjoy things when they finally turn it around, because you didn't write off the entire organization. So when the going gets tough, come to me and Clem and Kyle, and we'll be, give us your poor, your tired, your huddled masses, and we'll get through it together. So hopefully there's many episodes in the off season, because we do so much work. But I mean, man, I remember the good old days of like Mets blog in the 05, 06, 07 years, where we're always acquiring people. If we could even get a shred of that, it would be unbelievable. So thank you to all the listeners, and let's just got to get back to being like a cohesive fan base that aren't total assholes.
Gotta believe.